promoting gender balanced development within the information and communication technology sector. As it is Girls in ICT Day, my role here is really to monitor. And so I would be handing over to the host of this event, Ms. Christine Lashington. It would be an all girls, all female run program. So this would be the last you're seeing and hopefully hearing from me. Good morning and thank you again for joining us. Over to you, Ms. Lashington.
Thank you so much. Good morning to everyone. And it's good to be in the presence of ladies. So welcome officially as we celebrate Girls in ICT Day. It is my pleasure to be here with you. Of course, I have to recognize all our distinguished guests. Mrs. Charmaine Christopher, Deputy Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Spencer Thomas, Chairman of the NTRC, Commissioners, Coordinator, and staff of the NTRC. Our distinguished speakers, you will get to know them a little bit later on. Mrs. Anya Cho Chung, Dr. Kim Malaliu, Miss Aline Murao, Miss are joining very special, and all other representatives and members of the media, a pleasant good morning to you and welcome. My name is Chrislyn Lashington. I am the CEO of Lashington Agency, which is a marketing, communications, and entertainment agency based in Grenada. I'm also a dance fitness instructor, and of course, I'm involved in television and radio, which is probably why I am your mistress of ceremonies this morning. We have so many great speakers who are here with you as communications technology. And this event is put on by the NTRC, which is the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. It was established pursuant to the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, that's ECTEL. And it is really established to regularize the newly liberalized telecommunications market in Grenada in collaboration with ECTEL and the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority. So ICT is a dynamic field. It continues to evolve, providing vast opportunities for persons within this field. And that's why it's life, always really finding passion in what you choose to do. And we're happy to expose you to the field of ICT today, and hopefully it helps you along your journey. I want to, of course, big up all the secondary schools who are with us right now. Before I get to that big up, there are some house rules. You can see them on the screen. So we definitely want all schools to have your name in the display name on Zoom. So if it's not showing the name of your school right now, go in and change that name so that we can know exactly who is commenting, and that will come in handy, especially when it comes to those giveaways that are coming up within the program. Also, we want to make sure that everyone is muted, so make sure you're muted unless it's your turn to speak. Thank you so much for that. And we will have questions after each presenter have actually come on. So be sure and stay tuned for that. You can always raise your hand or type your question in the chat. All right. So if you raise your hand, we will then come to you. And of course, school or individual student who types the correct response first will be identified. So make sure you have your communications down pat wherever you are in your school so that you can make sure you have a giveaway coming your way. Big up to the schools tuning in. In Carriacou, we have Bishop's College as well as Hillsborough Secondary School. We also have the Grenada SK Comprehensive School, St. Mark's Secondary, Happy Hill Secondary School, Wester Hall Sec is in the building. Wesley College is also Beacon High in the building, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary, Grenville Sec, Boca Sec, and the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School. So wherever you are, I can't hear you, but I want you to give yourselves a round of applause for just being here right now. So big up yourself. We are going to move into the program one time. We are not sticking at all. So I will introduce our first speaker. Ooh, I'm seeing the hands going up already. So that's good. I'm liking the interaction. Even though we're virtual, it's good to at least have that. All right. So as we move on, we have our first speaker who will be joining us. Well, before we get to the speeches, we're actually going to start with a prayer, so important. So Mrs. Viola Charter from the Seventh-day Adventist Church will start us off. You can go ahead, Ms. Charter.
Okay. Heavenly Father, as we gather at this seminar here today, we invite your holy presence to enlighten and inspire. We thank you, Lord, for the Universal Service Fund commemoration of International Girls in ITC Day 2021. We are indeed grateful for the opportunities given to empower girls and for more women to be educated and equipped with competencies in technology. We foresee that this field of learning will present new opportunities that can broaden their horizons, expand their territories to reach and connect globally. May they accept this challenge to develop life skills for better jobs and new businesses. Lord, we also pray for the impact of this initiative, for your blessings on the program today, the finances, the speakers, the students, the participants, and organizers. Thank you, Lord, for hearing our prayer for these blessings. This we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I can hear that amen all across. For us is Mrs. Krista Burke Medford. She is actually the USF administrator at the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. And just so you know a little bit more about her, she actually has been administrator since 2010. You could do the calculation, y'all in school, y'all know the maths. And she is responsible for management and administration of the Universal Service Fund. She is a former pupil of the Anglican High School, so big up Anglican High. And she also is a graduate of the Midwestern. She also holds a master's degree in business administration with a focus on business strategy and international business in emerging economics. And she also has a master's in project management. She also has a Green Certified Project Management, focusing in integrating sustainability in project management. So what you can see so far is that Mrs. Krista Burke Medford is a serious woman, and she is very well learned and very well experienced. So without further ado, Mrs.
Very much, Ms. Lashington. Good morning, one and all. Ooh, it's indeed a pleasure to be here. Dr. Spencer Thomas, Chairman of the NTRC, Commissioners of the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, Mr. Lawrence Samuel, Coordinator of the NTRC, Mrs. Charmaine Christopher, Deputy Chief Education Officer. I would also like to recognize our Roselle Grant, also to Ms. Viola Charter, to the Master of Ceremony, the staff of the NTRC, representative and students from the various secondary schools, our specially invited guests, members of the media, one and all. On behalf of the Chairman, Commissioners, Management, and staff of the NTRC, I take this opportunity to welcome everyone to today's Girls in ICT Empowerment Seminar and to wish our girls a happy International Girls in ICT. 10 years ago this day, the ITU launched its Girls in ICT, which is celebrated annually on the fourth Thursday of April. It is envisioned that countries worldwide would execute activities intended to commemorate this day, targeting girls in all subject areas throughout the educational system to encourage them and empower them to become more involved in the field of ICT, especially in management roles, to create a more gender-balanced workforce. Within the last year, we have seen firsthand how critical a pillar ICT has become in supporting global economies in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has taught us how technology is not a luxury, as was the case a few years ago, but as an essential because they relied on ICT to continue to function. They did not merely stop, they found new ways or leveraged existing ways to remain relevant. So what exactly does this have to do with girls in ICT? It means that there are even more greater demand for technology experts and more opportunities for you girls to cement yourselves. ICT is not limited to the ICT field, but applicable to other sectors such as health, education, tourism. So how can you use ICT to create solutions in the different fields? This initiative is not the first of its kind for the NTRC. The NTRC has been supporting women and girls in ICT with initiatives dating back to 2011. We have seen training of over 800 women in parenting the digital generation. We have trained over 30 women in introductory to advanced ICT courses. We have held open house with our girls who had had first-hand exposure to shadow women in the telecommunications company. And we also had robotics competition, encouraging our girls to see ICT as a tool for problem solving. Today is a continuation of these initiatives. Not that boys are left out, but specifically in ICT to promote more inclusion of our girls. As an organization, we are not only advocating inclusion of girls in ICT, but we believe that our action must support our words. And today I am proud to announce that one of the participating students in today's initiative in Forms 4 to 5 will have the opportunity to be eligible for a fully funded tuition scholarship to the T.A. Marisho Community College. Will be eligible for a scholarship for books and school fees for the next year of your education. Participants will be required to write an essay of not less than 700 words on today's seminar. So tell us, how has this seminar inspired you or cemented your decision to pursue a course in ICT? How have the experiences, the journeys, and presentation of these women shape your thought process or propel you to select your field of study? Is there a speaker who inspired you? And also, why are you deserving of this scholarship? The students will have until the 15th of June this year to complete and submit this essay. The NTRC has provided support to students in the past to study at TAMCC in a technical field. Our role was not only as a sponsor, but we also made our staff available to provide guidance to the students as a form of Big Brother, Big Sister program as they navigated their way through college. We also provided an internship opportunity to one of our very own who happened to top her class that year in leadership roles, women who have gone through the ropes to reach where they are. Pay keen attention to their journey, their experiences that led them to where they are today. Sometimes it's not as easy as it looks, but the lessons learned will help you as you chart your course. I am sure at the end of this seminar, you will benefit from the knowledge of the opportunities that will be available in their field, whether it's internship, scholarship, or guidance on courses that you can select to establish a career in your field. Feel free to ask questions. After all, this seminar is an interactive one to provide you with as much information as possible to ensure that you have the clarity you need to get started. Again, to one and all, a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Medford. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me well. If you're having any difficulty, just message us in the chat so that we can try to fix it as quickly as possible. Now, without further ado, we welcome the Deputy Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education to give us some brief remarks, Mrs. Charmaine Christopher. So let's welcome her now.
Spencer Thomas, Chairman, NTRC, Commissioners, NTRC, Mr. Lawrence Samuel, Coordinator, NTRC, Speakers, Anya Chow Chung, Dr. Kim Mallory, Miss Alina Mural, Miss Alice Bain, Miss Roselle Grant, staff of the NTRC, representatives and students from the various secondary schools, other specially invited guests, one and all, good morning. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, Religious Affairs, and Information is especially delighted to support the National Telecommunication Day with hosting this virtual empowerment seminar targeting girls in our secondary schools. Today, the laser-like focus is to empower girls and young women to become more involved in the field of ICT, an area where women are underrepresented. The involvement of girls in this field must not just be as users, but as innovators in this fast-growing ICT sector. We acknowledge the field of ICT is male-dominated, especially at the senior level. Today, we celebrate the achievements of females who have blazed the trail in ICT and leadership. Further, this activity presents an opportunity to explore and reinforce technology careers and leadership roles as women in ICT and leadership share their experiences. More importantly, let us be reminded skills have become an essential requirement for employment in our society. Clearly, this has implications for us as a ministry, development planners, experts, researchers, educators, advocates, and society at large. Staff at the NTRC facilitating today's seminar for our girls is a testimony to your commitment to ICT careers and education with specific focus on girls. The work with our girls today will empower them to become more involved in ICT field. It is for this reason that on behalf to our distinguished guests who continue to serve as mentors to girls in ICT and leadership, we celebrate your achievements. We are confident that our students will be motivated to consider careers such as yours. This seminar represents a platform to echo the call to all girls to embrace ICT, which can also be an option for further study and career. Students, the onus is on all of you to participate. This dialogue must continue after this seminar and must be followed up by action. If our girls and women must become more involved in the ICT sector, we will have to continue our work with all stakeholders to support girls in ICT through well-planned activities like this and ICT education. In closing, let me again communicate the ministry's commitment to this dialogue on girls in ICT and the subsequent actions needed to sow the seeds of success in ICT for all and rewarding one for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Christopher, for those remarks on behalf of the Ministry of Education. It is so good to have the support of the ministry as we speak about careers in ICT. Now we have a video that we'll show you, and coming up, we are going to be hearing from our distinguished speakers, all women in ICT. Let's see the video.
This 22nd of April 2021, we celebrate the 10th anniversary of International Girls in ICT Day. This day marks the commitment of ITU, our member states, and all of our partners in the public and private sectors to empowering young girls. The theme of this year's Girls in ICT program is Connected Girls Creating Brighter Futures, and we will be celebrating not just on the official day, but all year long. We know that partnerships are the key to encouraging girls to study STEAM fields and develop critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical skills. In an increasingly digital world, this work is critical, not only for girls, but for their families and the communities they live in. Imagine a future where every child and young person, no matter what their gender, has equal access, training, and encouragement to harness the endless potential of ICTs. One effective way to work towards this future is by incorporating digital skills for all girls from a young age. By giving girls the tools to explore the world of challenges of our times. We need to work together through global cooperation and partnerships to unlock that potential and those fresh perspectives that girls bring to the digital era. Join us in this year's special 10-year anniversary celebration by visiting our ITU's Girls in ICT webpage and by following us on social media at #GirlsInICT. You will find information on events such as the 10 Moments of Girls in ICT, plenty of activities and events to join, as well as opportunities to share ideas and create your own event to promote girls in ICT. Countries all around the world will be celebrating Girls in ICT on the 22nd of April and beyond. So join us. Get involved. Tech needs girls, and girls need tech.
Very good presentation right there. And now we move over to our speakers. Our first speaker is Grenadian, and she has loads of positions. She is Mrs. Anya Cho Chung. She currently holds the positions of chairman of the board, as well as chief executive officer of George F. Huggins and Company Grenada Limited. Now dig this, she is the first woman in the 100 years of the company being established to. She is an avid sports enthusiast. In fact, she actually has a third-degree black belt in martial arts of Shotokan Karate, all right? And she remains a competing member of the Grenada National Karate team, and she is a proud mother of 3 children. In terms of education, she studied law. She studied natural sciences at first at the T.A. Marisho Community College after graduating from the St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. And she also has a Bachelor's of Law degree, as well as a attended the Hugh Wooden Law School in Trinidad, and she has a certificate in legal education. So let's welcome the chairman of the board and chief executive officer of George F. Huggins Company Limited in Grenada, Mrs. Anya Cho Chung.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mistress of Ceremonies, Chrislyn Lashington. Of course, I must acknowledge Dr. Spencer Thomas, who's the chairman of the NTRC, and of course the commissioners who are present this morning in the Ministry of Education. My colleague members of the panel of guest speakers, warm good morning to you. Staff of the NTRC, representatives, and of course, young ladies from the various secondary schools who are here with us this morning. A hearty good morning to you. Other specially invited guests, members of the media, one and all, good morning. Good morning. Information communication technology.
Good morning.
Morning. Thanks to my convent girls for saying morning. ICT pervades all aspects of our lives, from education, where you are now, to making our jobs easier, and to keeping loved ones and BFFs, and I don't mean boyfriends, I mean your best friends, keeping us all connected all over the world. It is present everywhere, and it is becoming of even greater value to the economies of the world. I'm really happy to have been asked, and I must thank the NTRC for inviting me to make this presentation to you this morning. My story and my experience in the field of ICT may not, however, be quite what you expect. During this seminar, you'll have the opportunity to hear from some truly accomplished women, experts in the ICT field. Unlike these amazing women, however, I am not in the least bit an expert in ICT. In fact, for many, many years, this was an area I found highly intimidating. I hope, however, that by the end of today's seminar, most of you, if not all of you, will choose a career path that is ICT related or directly involved. My first interaction with a computer system, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I did a brief course in ICT. And it was many, many, many years after that, I had an opportunity to interact in a meaningful way, again, with computers. At St. Joseph's Convent and at TAMCC, I never really had a need to use a computer. SBAs were handwritten, hand-drawn. We never even had a PC at home. Can you imagine any student, any one of you in 2021 existing without, or even functioning without direct access to a computer system? And no, I'm not a dinosaur. This was what it was then, right? After college, I managed to secure my first job, and ironically, I became a computer salesperson. You will not survive in today's world of work without learning how to use a computer. And he was the first person who impressed upon me the reality that the computer age was manifest. It was a simple fact. No matter what career I pursued, and then I had not made up my mind what I wanted to do, the need to come to terms with my ignorance of ICT matters would have to be faced and overcome. And young ladies, unlike me, you have access to IT in secondary school now. I left that job after some time and I joined a local bank. And every single role I carried out in that bank involved interacting with the computer or with the bank's proprietary software. But what struck me while I worked there, the bank employed its own IT support team. And what struck me was that every member of that team was a male. A few years later, I had the opportunity to join Huggins, where I am now. And I joined them in the marketing department then. And I soon realized that I would have to come to terms with a whole new suite of software and some nice fancy hardware to boot. I was responsible for designing and printing a lot of the point of sale material and advertisements and so on. And I had to teach myself to use those high-powered graphics software. What struck me at Huggins, though, was the fact that it was one of the largest companies in Grenada, but there was a great anomaly. Unlike most other companies at the time, and I'm talking here the late 90s, the head of its IT department was a brilliant young woman. And yes, she was leading a support staff of men. She was an excellent programmer. Some of her programs we still use today, but she was well respected in her field. Even throughout my years of study at the University of the West Indies and even at law school, the need for me to sharpen my IT skills were inescapable. It was inescapable. By the time I graduated law school, there were so many new advancements in the civil procedures rules, which accommodated online filing of claims and submissions. There was a whole emerging area of law relative to ICT, regarding responsible use of data, technology, etc. Jobs emerged in the legal courts. Ladies, I'm sharing with you my journey to show you that at every turn in almost every single career, from sales to marketing to visual arts to banking to law to business, even back then, there is an unquestionable and undeniable truth that the world of ICT is taking center stage. The opportunities within the field are countless. And I must also add that positions can prove to be very lucrative for an employee with sound experience and qualifications. In my 17 years at Huggins cumulatively, I have seen so many of the brain. It was the main point of processing and control and reconciliation by which all other departments were anchored. Ladies, this is no longer the case. That's no longer the reality here. The information systems department here is at center stage. And I'm very proud, girls, I'm very proud to share with you today that the majority of employees at Huggins in the information systems department are female. I am particularly moved by the growth I have seen in one young lady, Miss Nazil Noel. Nazil joined us straight out of TAMCC. She's a trailblazer. She's now a critical member of the IS team. While working, she has continued her studies in ICT, and she recently achieved her CompTIA Server Plus certification. So I'm going to share with you now, this is a little employee feature that we did recently, right? It's on our social media site, but just permit me to share the video that Nizelle did. Oh my. Let me know if you all can see this. You all seeing the video? Can someone just confirm for me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful.
No.
Hi.
Oh, yes.
Yes? Okay.
My name is Nizelle Noel. I am the Senior IT Support Technician for George of Huggins. For those of you that don't know what that means, I support certain divisions throughout our company. Coming into Huggins has taught me a lot. I came straight out of college. I was able to get more hands-on experience where I am able to troubleshoot, do software support, hardware support, change a capacitor on the board, as well as network analysis, things I was not able to do before. My motivation for IT came out because of a show. There was this TV series every evening after school called Criminal Minds. There was this female character. She was fictional, yes, but she was my motivation. She was the tech of the team. For me, it amazed me seeing a woman in that field. Because when you hear IT, you're not seeing a woman. But young women in this field or thinking about joining this field, you got this. Do not give up. You may see a lot of men, but don't worry. As long as you're able to put in the extra work, the long nights, and be focused, you will see results. Being in this company has taught me so much. I just want to thank Mr. Don Howman Phillip for giving me his guidance and giving me also the opportunity. Huggins, we are your company.
Okay, so y'all, I'm back. Y'all can hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up. Great, wonderful. So Nazil, as you can see, she's carving out a career path for herself in this field. And I love her words, the simple words to you young women. Don't give up. You've got this. You've got this. She remains unfazed by the fact that she is going head to head with men. Think about this, young ladies. Just think about this. Only 17% of ICT specialists in the world are women. But never before have there been so many opportunities for women to pursue careers traditionally dominated by men. I am living proof of this. You heard Miss Lashington say, in the 100-year history of Huggins, I am the first and only woman to have ever been appointed CEO or chairman of the board. I am in the field of business, yes, but this much remains true for all careers and opportunities. Do not let anyone or anything hold you back from seeking out or achieving your goals. The more women who pursue careers in non-traditional fields, the greater the voice we will have. Every single one of you has within you the potential. You can be the catalyst for this change. So, how do you get started? The time is now. You have your IT available at CSEC level. A lot to offer. I've had excellent experience with TAMCC graduates here at Huggins. Make use of this opportunity. If you want to go to get into the intro level of ICT certification, there are factors to take into consideration. One main factor is whether you should pursue a vendor specific. It will address a specific vendor's technology like Microsoft and the tools to validate your competency, while the vendor neutral certification will validate your competency in your baseline skills, right? So in terms of the real world use, vendor specific will be appropriate for companies where you know they are heavily involved in that particular vendor's solutions. Vendor neutral certifications will be useful for those companies where you have a broader range of vendors in with regard to their specific. So a company like Huggins, we look for people with vendor neutral certifications. So just keep this simple rule of thumb in mind, and it will help you to decide which one you want to pursue for yourself at an introductory level. And I want to give another piece of advice. Do not be afraid to reach out to persons who are experienced in ICT on this call, right? Folks you can reach out to. I want to also add, young ladies, that there are companies like Huggins and so on, which will give financial support for you. If you're working here and you want to pursue your studies, you will be supported. You get study leave to pursue your certifications. So you don't have to aim only for a university degree, which is excellent, but you can even start to work and advance yourself. What are the careers? As I said earlier, the careers involving ICT they are endless. There are opportunities in the medical field, in visual arts, animation, law and legal systems I mentioned, communications, right here in Huggins, supply chain logistics, shipping, travel, tourism, you name it. In the Caribbean, there's a whole new area opening up, drones and CCTV surveillance methods to curb predial larceny. Right here in Grenada, we're looking at that. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic, girls, it has forced many companies to embrace our digital transformation far more quickly than we had originally anticipated. So like Huggins, for example, and I know this is true of several other entities in Grenada, we are moving our entire inventory and services online under one seamless and fully integrated software solution so that it will bring Huggins and make us more accessible to our customers in a virtual space. We are also at present, and we are really excited about this, we are working with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to pilot the digital Eastern Caribbean dollar in Grenada, to pilot the use of that currency. So girls, this means that at every department, at every division, there's so many opportunities where we would need experienced ICT personnel who would be able to manage the infrastructure. There'll be new employment opportunities as the process rolls out. And like a number of businesses and in Grenada and in the region, there will be opportunities for internships, which will be presented for you to put what you have learned to the test and learn in real time in an enabling environment. I know that Grenlec offers these internships. There are a number of entities, you'll be surprised, in Grenada, where you can actually test your skills. So I've given you quite a bit. I just want to leave, however, on one final note, which I want to make. It's a very important point I want to make. Equally as important as it is for you young ladies to get yourselves qualified and upskilled is the need for you to engage in character building, to documentation, to people's personal records, right? You will be required to be, the ICT matters will be required to be in the hands of people who employers can trust. You'll be a target for data exposure. You'll be a target for information. Trust, once destroyed, can only be regained in the rarest of circumstances. Practice good ethics in ICT. Be of unquestionable and sound character in all things, and you'll be successful. All right.
So much, such a good presentation. And I love that ending piece about character development. If you have any questions, now is the time to put them in the chat. I see St. Joseph's Convent, one of the St. Joseph's Convents has their hands up. You can type the questions in the chat, and that'll be a nice quick way for us to get the questions done quite quickly, effectively. So now is the time to ask any questions for Mrs. Anya Cho Chung of George F. Huggins Company Grenada Limited. All right. In the meantime, I will introduce our next speaker, and she is hailing from Trinidad. She is a senior, she's a senior lecturer and communication systems group leader in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of West Indies. She is the Deputy Chair of the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, she has a Bachelor's of Science as well as a Master's of Science and a PhD. And she is also a keen advocate for gender equality for development. Her works include the ITU and ETC report on women, ICT, and emergency telecommunications, opportunities and constraints, which has been translated in French, Spanish, Arabic, Russian, and Chinese. That's a big deal, y'all. In her different capacities, she has led national, regional, and international initiatives variously designed to build capacity in ICT policy, regulation. Welcome, Dr. Kim Malalu.
Thank you so very much, Kristen. I really appreciate it. Can I start by recognizing that protocols have been observed? And if you have any trouble hearing me, please let me know. So, protocols observed. Thank you so much to the NTRC Grenada and to participants for the opportunity to share a little bit about my thoughts and experiences today. It's such a pleasure to be here, needed, and we can make it. Let's hear from Charlotte Benjamin. Charlotte in 2014 wrote this to Lego. She said, "Dear Lego Company, my name is Charlotte. I am 7 years old and I love Lego, but I don't like that there are more Lego boy people and barely any Lego girls. Today I went to a store and saw Legos in two sections, the pink for girls and the blue for boys. All the girls did was sit around and go to bed and sleep, and they had no jobs. But the boys went on adventures, they worked, they saved people, and they had jobs, even swimming with sharks. I want you to make more Lego girl people and let them go on adventures and have fun, okay? And she thanks Lego and she signs it from Charlotte Benjamin. Introduce the Olivia's Invention workshop into their friends collection. And 1 year later, by 1 year later, the female purchases of Lego almost tripled. This is profound. It's profound because it tells us many things, one of which is the importance of care and consideration for all users, for all consumers, for all people. If it were not for Lego transmitting a message that boys have this role and girls have this role, we would have gone on perhaps for years with girls not seizing the opportunity to, in their early formative years, build structures, engage in play in which they themselves, girls and women, take vital roles in important activities in our society. This is profound. And as Anya has shown us, so in the same way in which there is a direct impact on the suite of products in Lego, there is also a direct impact in the suite of products and services that bring us ICT, if it is that women do not cycle of ICT products and services. We've already heard some statistics, 17%, yes, the representation of women in the workplace in the ICT sector is very asymmetrical compared to that of men, yeah? So these are, from my point of view, the reasons why we are here today. And at the same time, when it is that we recognize that a difference is needed and we recognize how we can make this difference, I want you to understand that we can have such a great time doing it. My own journey has been a life, a professional life, a personal life of growth and excitement, of service and enjoyment. I have dedicated my entire professional life to the area of telecommunications and information and communications technology. I started at the Bastia High School. I am an OECS citizen. I am a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I went to high school in Bastia High. I then moved on to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and then on to upstate New York, and then to London in England. And I settled at the University of the West Indies, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, 33 years ago. Amongst other things, I now lead the Caribbean ICT Research Program. This program engages in what we call action research. And it revolves around ICT, and our focus is on the use of ICT in all manner of the term by underserved persons. So the poor, any other types of communities that are underserved. The particular focus of our work is fisherfolk, small-scale fisherfolk in the Caribbean. But we utilize ICT and help communities, underserved communities, to utilize ICT for self-realization, for social and economic development. At the same time, I am involved in many, many other things. And at this time, over the next few days, next Tuesday, in fact, I am launching the Network of Women for the International Telecommunication Union Development Sector. And this will be a network to provide support for women in the Caribbean and in the Americas in general, but with a particular focus on the Caribbean, women in the Americas taking on leadership roles at the international level in telecommunications. Our focus for the network of women at this time is around the World Telecommunication Development Conference that will be held this year. They are held every 4 years by the ITU. These telecommunication development conferences set the strategies and the objectives for the development of telecommunications and ICT around the world. My journey, as challenging as it's been rewarding, my everyday job, I would say, is teaching. I teach at the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine. Alongside the actual day-to-day teaching, I have, when needed, introduced programs that serve specific needs in the Caribbean. One such is the Masters in Telecommunications Regulation and Policy, which is a global program that our graduates is here with us. Dr. Spencer Thomas, who is the chairman of the Grenada NTRC, is a graduate of the Master's Program in Telecommunications Regulation and Policy. On the top left, you will also see me in Geneva with another of our graduates who is the regulator in one of the Dutch Antilles countries. You would see next to that a picture of myself and 2 other graduates of our program who are the CEO and the chairman of the board in Mauritius, Telecommunications Authority in Mauritius. At the same time, I also train fisherfolk. Fisherfolk, many of whom are barely literate, some of whom are not literate at all. In fact, this week, I was meant to be training a fisherfolk in Tobago, and it is only because of the stringent COVID restrictions that I was not able to travel to Tobago this week. So what I'm painting for you is my life in telecommunications and ICT is rich and varied. Teaching, training at various levels from the executive who are barely literate. Why do I do this? Because there is need. And that is why I introduced the Masters in Telecoms Regulation, because there was an expressed need. When I went out into the Caribbean and I asked the telecommunications, and they said, we're okay for telecom. What we want is regulation and policy. That was at the time, at the beginning of this century, when the telecommunications sector was being liberalized. And the need at the time was for capacity building in regulation and policy. So our response at the University of the West Indies was to develop a program very, very quickly, drawing from the best minds around the world and putting this together in no time at all. Okay. Also, as a university lecturer and a leader of the Caribbean ICT program, I do as much in classroom as I do in the field. I advise ministers of government. I advise communities who are underserved, those who live in underserved areas that are not reached by telecommunications, those communities, for example, fisherfolk, who do very well to benefit from the resilience that the radio communications provides in the open ocean. Advice to young girls, I have 4 different items of advice for you. From my perspective, do well, do good, stay grounded, and avoid distractions. Do well. What I mean by that is everything that you do your best. Do good. What I mean by that is do good for the world. Do good for yourself, your family, your community, your country, your region, and the world. Do good. While you do this, I want for you that you remain grounded. You remain humble and devoted to service. This is what I want for you. I also advise you to avoid distractions. When I was at MIT, I was in the minority. Women were in the minority at MIT. It never occurred to me. I only realized it years after. So I was not distracted by the fact that we were in a minority. There are many other women she's the CEO of Digicel Dominica. Teresa Wankin is the Secretary General of the Caribbean Association of National Telecommunications Organizations. Bernadette Lewis is the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization. Doreen Bogdan Martin is the Director of the International Telecommunication Union Development Bureau. So you see, from country to region to multi-country to globe, our women are have assumed leadership positions, and they have done so by doing well, doing good, staying grounded, and avoiding distractions. So search for and seize opportunities. Ms. Burke Medford has shared with us very many opportunities that are accessible to you in Grenada at this time. Later on, there are many other examples. For example, if you wish to go to St. George's University, there are many internship opportunities. If you want to go further afield, say to Waterloo, University of Waterloo in Canada, they have the largest co-op program. It is absolutely superb. It's a form of internship co-op program. So there are work terms during your undergraduate degree. It is the largest co-op program in the world, and it is absolutely superb. They also are very strong in information communications and telecommunications programs there. Back home in the Caribbean, University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, our department, at the Caribbean ICT Research Program, we accept and sponsor interns. We are taking one on in May, and he will be working on a mobile application suite that we have developed for small-scale fisheries, early warning, and emergency response. Other opportunities include in-service learning and, of course, on-the-job learning, as you have heard about for NESL. How to get started? My tip for you is start at the end and work backwards. I always start at the end and work backwards. So I ask myself, what do I want for my life? And then I work backwards and I say, what role does my career play in getting me there? And the pathway, there are many pathways, and you will choose your own. But the pathway in terms of formal education and the building of your capacity, I recommend that you build on a foundation that has aspects that are both ICT specific and generic, very much along the lines that Anya has shared with you. So for example, the ICT specific knowledge that you must seek, in my opinion, are the conceptual foundations. For example, data representation and manipulation, math, the communications processing chain. Quite apart from ICT specific, there's a whole conceptual foundations, for example, logic, classification. Classification is one of the most absolutely essential conceptual skill sets and knowledge sets to be able to classify things. Organization, argument development, analysis, presentation, project and time management. These span the whole gamut. Sorry, forgive me. So the spectrum that we in terms of capacity building that are so important are knowledge, skills, and attitudes. At the center, at the core, I urge you to build a strong core of attitudes and purpose. Again, echoing much of what Anya has shared with you. Attitudes and purpose, values, ethics, strategic objectives, development studies. Maybe it is that your purpose in life is to contribute to economic and social development, as is mine. Skills are not limited to ICT. If you have a career you see yourself as having a career in ICT, the skills that you need are not limited to ICT. Again, as Anya has said, do what you love, develop skills that you love, art, music, dance, fashion, sport. And then layer on top of that software development, database design, programming, a whole set of tools and techniques like simulation, big data, AI, machine learning, systems design, technologies, protocols. At the end of the day, you must have the skill of discernment and assessment. Career opportunities in ICT, they are endless. Anya has given you a nice broad brush of many, but there are others, they are limitless. Remember that 75% of refugees and displaced persons at risk from war, famine, and persecution and natural disasters are women and children. The director of the ITU BDT says to include women in disaster planning and strategic consultations on disaster response. The opportunities in ICT are endless. You, of course, will course your own pathway. Gwynne Shotwell, SpaceX president and CEO, has shared this with us. I got into engineering because my mom took me to a Society of Women Engineers event, and I loved her suit. That's it for me. The options are endless. Thank you very much. Passing over back to you now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malalio. Great presentation. Thanks so much for joining us. And of course, reminding all schools, you can type your questions for our speakers so far in the chat, and we will ensure that they are heard and answered within this session. I also want to education. So without further ado, let's move on. I'm just going to check the chat to see if there are any questions so far. It looks like we're clear, but be sure to type your questions there. And a reminder to keep your mics muted unless it's your turn to speak. All right. So let's move on to our another speaker. Her name is Miss Roselle Grant, and she is a development engineer at Tesla. Yes, I said Tesla. She is joining us here, and Tesla is a company that has successfully executed its vision of creating the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. She started her professional training in the pulp and paper industry in Southeast Texas in the USA. And she actually did this while she was still a student. She has earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in mechanical engineering. And she also has a postgraduate certificate from graduate in machine learning and artificial intelligence. She is an avid adventure junkie who enjoys both the thrills as well as the calms of nature. A woman after my own heart there. Let's welcome. She's also quite fascinated with human psychology and emotional intelligence. Let's welcome Miss Roselle Grant of Tesla.
Hello, hello. An incredible morning to all. And on the protocols already established, as we said, I am so thrilled to have been invited to share at this seminar. I hope that you're excited. Excited, first of all, to be you and to be here and to hear how ICT forms the roots of or the groundwork for this industrial revolution, as I like to say, that humanity is currently undergoing, right? And I say this without exaggeration. We are now all witnessing this, which is almost completely data-driven. Now, ICT itself is a broad category, as other speakers have mentioned. And with only a few minutes, I would like to segue into how a particular branch of it has changed my approach to problem solving and income earning, basically. I would also like to highlight what it can offer you that both intrigues me and terrifies me. You may have heard about machine learning and deep learning, but I'm certain that you heard the term artificial intelligence, right? And basically, in a nutshell, if you have a brain, let's consider my hands a brain here, right? And it's the brain of a piece of equipment. Now, a subset of that brain is considered machine learning. And that's how that brain builds habits. So humans teach into the machine learning by providing algorithms and all of that. And then there is a smaller black hole, as I like to call it, that we call deep learning, right? And it's basically the machine teaching itself. It's artificial because it's not human, and its intelligence is scored based on, you know, how well that machine executes the task that it was trained to do. Now, one of the most valuable things available to us today is data, right? Never has there been a time that so much data has been around us. And the whole concept of AI is made possible because of the abundance of data. And we have no idea how influenced we are by AI. Now, let me give you a personal example here. There was one day so I always stay logged into, you know, like everyone else, my Facebook, my social media accounts, the YouTube, on the TV, etc. And one day I was looking at this, a movie that spoke about IT in the 21st century, right? And this was on Netflix. And the next recommendation from Netflix was on this documentary titled Social Tech Companies have more control over our everyday actions with AI than we are cognizant of. Now, directly after this, I started receiving advertisements on my different social media accounts about, you know, why not do this course? Why not do this course in data analytics, or this course in AI? Or are you interested in IT? All of a sudden, from nowhere, right? And about 3 months after being bombarded with this, I gave in and I signed up for this big data analytics course at MIT, when it's something that I would not have considered prior. And it was during this course that I came to understand how the recommendation systems behind Netflix works, and how the data that, or whatever I viewed, the entire process seemed so subtle and so innocent, but at the same, so I'm now at a point where I couldn't believe, I was so in awe of how easily I was coerced into doing something without thinking that I was persuaded to do it. And this is why I'm doing my postgraduate right now in artificial intelligence. I need to know more, even while I work my full-time job here. And the applications of AI aren't always that eerie, right, or creepy. There are some extremely valuable uses of the technology. I have been able to, you know, in my past 4 years at computer system, and then have that machine perform a step change better, like significant improvement, just by understanding the different algorithms and understanding the data manipulation and how things work in that sense. The whole stop sign or a red light and classify it, as Dr. Malalawi said, right? When it can do that and then judge, take action on its own, that's artificial intelligence. We use it in the healthcare system. So right now we're working on a model where we are trying to, and this is just a personal project, or it's a project for school, but nonetheless, trying to classify different cancerous tumors, right? So we can, just based on an image, try to figure out what type of cancer it is. But how AI can work even better here is try to predict who may develop cancer. And then that way the individuals are able to take the necessary precautionary action. I'm going to be straight up with you. In modern AI algorithms, even today, like, there are biases. For example, there are certain facial recognition software that misclassify people from different sexes, different ethnic groups at like a higher rate, or a more incorrect rate than other groups, right? And most of it has to do with how these algorithms were trained. If your training data is biased, then the output data will also be biased. Underrepresented segments, and then working against them, right? I'm also going to reiterate the statistics that our two previous speakers have spoken to. Less than 20% of the people, in tech, in powerful tech positions, are females. And this number has absolutely nothing to do with, how smart or how not smart women are, because you know that we are capable. We are more than capable, right? I think sometimes it has to do with the other factors that people hardly speak about when giving advice. To always need to be aggressive and loud, although at times it may get there. But you need to be able to engage in conversations with people that you disagree with, right? And doing this gives you two things. It gives you, number one, perspective, and it also gives you a reason to research. So be brave enough to share your input, and you have a right to share your opinion. But then that comes with the responsibility of listening. So how many of you grew up with siblings or cousins where you basically had to negotiate your entire life for almost everything? This goes a long way. Each time you do this, consider it practice for the real world, because on the manufacturing line, when you're saying take this step and somebody else is saying something else, you need to be able to, Now, in order to be able to persuade people need to be, need to feel like they're being heard. And this is just human psychology, right? So learn how to listen. I always considered myself a good listener until I realized that I wasn't. And my bad habit was not to become aggressive. What I would do is just zone out, right? And that's worse than not listening in complete disapproval, because when you're zoned out, now that you've learned to listen, then learn to speak. And I'm not talking in terms of fluency and nice, eloquent words and so, right? You listen so that you're able to respond constructively, not just rebut for rebutting's sake, right? It is okay and sometimes necessary, absolutely necessary, to play devil's advocate, but you need to be tactful with your responses, and at times more important than what you say is how you say it. So be aware of your tone. So now that you're aware of some underlying social skills that I think you need to have, now is the time for you to build up your technical aptitude, right? Just think about it for a minute. You can write certain software. Ladies, this is the time, right? Whether you get into tech, into teaching, agriculture, fisheries, as was previously stated, you are at the stage in humanity where learning to program can only help. It can only benefit you. And there are many platforms out there. There's one that I really like. It's called She Code. And there is Udemy. And they take you basically from a GoPro camera to do facial recognition system. So you know who to open your gate for or who not to open your gate for, right? So if you had to pick just one programming language, right? And let's say you wanted to get into artificial intelligence. And number two, if you look at the job descriptions for data scientists and machine learning engineers, Python is the number one of Python in ICT and in different industries related to, and even outside of ICT. And you would be amazed. Now, the beautiful thing about AI, as already stated, is that you're not limited to tech companies. Who here knows that like AI is used for desalination plants in certain sub-Saharan countries, right? That's a thing. AI is also used to facilitate upward agriculture. So I was in discussions with a company that actually does that, right? In Grenada, we have the land mass to be able to grow our crops horizontally, right? But there are some cities where there are people on top of people, and we need to be able to get creative. If you want to become a DJ, there is room for AI there. Salaries for these ICT positions, significant. It doesn't matter which country you are. It is significantly higher than most other fields, right? And it's one of those fields where you don't have to wait until you're finished school to be able to build your portfolio. You're in high school now, you can take on projects, you can save your projects in GitHub CV, right? And you're probably thinking, well, I have to get out of my country, I have to leave Grenada to be able to tap in these things, and that couldn't be further from the truth. As already spoken about, there are opportunities locally, and there are a website called Kaggle, Kaggle, Kaggle.com. And there are cash prizes up to $100,000. So you can win $100,000 in the comfort of your home, right? So I'm not sure who here likes to read. It isn't my favorite pastime. I will follow rules to maintain social order, but at the same time to think creatively and think futuristically. Had I read this book when I was your age, perhaps I would have been further along in life, right? And the last thing I would like to leave you with is data is all around us, and its use is widespread. Now, everything that you post, everything that you Google search when you're logged into your account can be used by somebody else or by some equipment or by some artificial intelligence to create a profile of you, right? So I say this to say, try to maintain a professional image online, right? You are building your brand. I'm building my brand, and we carry it and we display it more than we know. In particular, in a world where people see you online before they see you, especially now, right? And it seems totally unfair that somebody will judge something that I'm still trying to find my balance in, right? Because I don't want to suppress myself, but at the same time, I need to be socially.
Thank you so much, Miss Roselle Grant from Tesla. Great points there. And I love that ending about just being conscious of your brand. Everything is your brand. And as you say, everything is also documented on social media and online. So it's a good point to end on. And of course, if you have any questions for Miss Grant, please put them in the chat. I see there's some questions going. We're going to get to them at the end. So let's get to our final presenter for this session. She is Miss Aline Murao. She is the Public Policy Manager for Connectivity and Access in Latin America and the Caribbean at Facebook. Yes, one of our favorite applications, Facebook. She is a public policy manager, of course, as I mentioned. And prior to joining Facebook, she actually worked in the legal and regulatory departments of two major telco companies in Brazil, responsible for fixed, mobile, broadband, and television regulations before national regulatory authorities. The practice included drafting policies and regulations on consumer protection, internet regulation, and privacy matters. She holds a Master's of Science in Public Policy and Management from King's College London. That's a good one. And an LLM in Corporate Law from IBMEC, Rio de Janeiro. At Murao.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you, yes.
Well? Thank you so much. Thank you, Kreslin. Sorry if I got your name wrongly. My name is Aline Mourão. I'm from Brazil. Yes, I'm based in São Paulo, our São Paulo office. But unfortunately, we are all at home, working from home because due to COVID-19. And I really wanted to start this talk by acknowledging and thanking the invitation for the National Telecommunication Regulatory Commission from Grenada. It's a pleasure to be here and acknowledge the commissioners, Dr. Spencer, in our colleagues in the panel, Dr. Kim, Miss Anya, Miss Alice, and Miss Rosal. It's a pleasure to know you. Unfortunately, we are apart from each other, but we have the ICT sector to connect us this day, and that's why we are here. And all the students present here today, you are the stars of the celebration. It's not us, it's about you. It's about you becoming what you want to become. And first, what I want to say is, let me tell you a little bit more about me and about how I got here in this position at Facebook. And you could think, oh, she decided to pursue a career in one of the STEMs degrees. No, I didn't do science, technology, engineering, mathematics. I chose law. It's exactly. I chose law because when I was studying in my hometown, most of the girls used to choose law, psychology, something not mathematically related, because everyone told us, most of our teachers in that past told us that engineer careers would be for men, not for women. And that's why I chose law. My mother is a lawyer, my older sister is a lawyer, and my father is an engineer. So that's why I got into the law. After working in legal departments, working with law, I saw that this was not for me, because I wanted to be opportunities inside that company that I could develop these skills. They have to talk with the national regulatory agencies and understand how they can create policies and create regulations to attend all, and design projects that can attend men and women. So that's why I chose to change. I did a lateral move by that time. I was not promoted, but I said I wanted to pursue this career in the ICT, despite the fact I chose law as my degree. So right now, I am currently a public policy manager for connectivity and access in Latin and the Caribbean at Facebook. And I'm responsible for infrastructure and connectivity programs in the region. I do work closely with policymakers and regulators in shaping policies and promoting, but our focus is to develop internet usage. And we understand that internet is not just being connected or unconnected. There are 4 pillars that we study, and we commission every year I study from the Economist Intelligence Union. I studied that can see 4 pillars. Availability. Do you have access to internet? Accessibility. Can you afford paying that connection? It is reliable. You can use for every aspect of your life, or it's just a base connection that you can only call or receive messages. Readiness. Readiness and relevance are those pillars that are very important to ICT and these ICT Girls Day. Readiness is when you think and when you have the digital literacy to understand the benefits of being included and using the internet. And relevance, if you understand that the content on the internet is relevant to you, to your life, to your culture, to your family. So the Girls in ICT Day is very important, and we have been partnering, Facebook has partnered with the ITU since, I think it's been 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, especially here in Brazil. We have been partnering with the ITU to understand and to push girls to choose career in the STEM sector, of course. But what I wanted to tell you with my background is that even though you don't choose right now a career in the an engineer career, for example, you still have a path in the ICT sector. It's not only based by engineers. Technology is not just completely focused on engineer careers. We have people in the health sector, from the health sector, doctors, psychologists, lawyers. So even machine learning and artificial intelligence, these are the careers for the future. We understand here at Facebook, and we saw some data, and we women just represent 22% in artificial intelligence. This is too low out there. If you are not constructing side by side with them, of course, every AI will be constructed with the bias from men. So that's why we also have the Caribbean. Dr. King, I think, is from Trinidad. Someone else is from other parts of the Caribbean. So we have different visions, we have different backgrounds and cultures, and this is all too important for artificial intelligence, for machine learning as well. Something else that I wanted to point it out, as Dr. King just told us, imagine us living in a world without that particular girl that stood up for ourselves and sent a message to Lego. It was one person, it was one girl that stood up for us. So that's why we have to raise for each other. It's not that time was one girl, but try to see other parts of life. We will see women stand up for each other and raising the bar and getting more women to work, inspiring them. So I was inspired by a male, actually. When I got in this ICT sector in the regulatory area, my manager by the time was amazing, and he saw the opportunities I could get and how I was good at what I was doing. And he didn't make any difference between me and the other guys from my team, but I was the only one. I was the only girl. And he took me by the arm and get me to all the meetings that you're in that position, regardless if it's a man. But if you see yourself in that position, in that career, go forward. It's not just about seeing that you don't have to have a woman leading you, because you can be the one leading other women. And I think that the Girls in ICT Day actions like this, done by the ICT for so many years, are too important, because gender inequalities are still happening. I had a slide, but I'm not going to show. I'm going to talk quickly. In Latin inequalities, so we had we have a path, although we have a long way to go, but we are still going, and we cannot stop right now. And regarding some tips on how to get started, I think that Dr. King's presentation was very enlightening, and I don't have anything to add on this aspect. But what I would say is try to see a role model. Start with someone. Try imagine where you want to be or what you want to do. So with these, I think that most of although the pyramid, you can have a lot of from that presentation, Dr. King, if you can share with us, it will be a pleasure to see your presentation. And I think that, but don't give up, because I did law, and where our mission is to connect more people on the internet. So our mission is to bring connectivity regardless of technology. So we are totally agnostic of technology, if it's mobile, if it's fixed, if it's satellite. We just need everyone to be connected. And if it was not from the ICT sector and this kind of connections, we wouldn't be here today talking with each other, learning from each other. So that's why I wanted to highlight this point. And in the careers opportunities at Facebook, we have seen that the sector changed a lot, although we are still, from all the people that works in Facebook in the world, we still have a male dominated. The data is changing. We have diversity and inclusion aspects and worries. So every hiring is thought through this lens of diversity and inclusion. So it's very important, but this is a process. So if we don't have girls in this ICT sector wanted to become someone in the ICT sector, we cannot hire them. So that's why the data changes so slowly. We have you need you girls to become someone in the ICT sector. That's why we are here together today. And but Facebook Underscore available next year, but we are already thinking through, because people that are good, for example, at coding, can be coding in Trinidad, can be coding in Grenada, can be coding in Sao Paulo. You don't have to be in an office. So that's why one of the benefits of the ICT sector is to get us everywhere without getting out of our countries, of our places. So this is very important. And look through not just Facebook. I'm talking about others, Google as well. I've seen it. Some fintechs are hiring people to work in this development sector from their homes. You don't have to change. You don't have to go to leave your family for that. And we developed some programs, especially in partnership with ITU. It's called America's Girls Can Code. So when we teach coding for girls, since we understand that it is something that lacks we've had to be present a little bit more, and informing groups of women to know how to code, to know how to use Python, as Roselle mentioned to us. It's very used right now at Facebook as well. And we also have some internship positions. Even though you need to travel to the US and the UK, we have this kind of hackathons that they chose you. And if you succeed at the hackathon in your home, they can pay you all the expenses for you to be at least 12 weeks traveling and learning on a Facebook site. So it's not for now, because we are in a situation that every office is closed, but we are already hiring. So although you girls are not in the university yet, but will be available when you are there. It's an internship. It's something that you can rely on and get the skills you are studying at the university, but in local and in a company that can hire you after this hackathon, this kind of events. And just to close my remarks here, is I would love to hear from you questions and etc. But I wanted to tell you that soft skills matter. Although degrees still matter, hard skills, as we call hard skills, you have to have a degree. Soft skills, how you treat people, how you communicate. I think Dr. Kim was very amazing when she said, be good, do good. Because it is about how you construct your relationship. In companies are constructed by people, and people are complicated, right? So I think that you have to understand that communication, it's very important. So even though you can be the number one girl at coding, but if you're not a good person, if you cannot talk with people, construct a relationship, and how to express yourself, it will be much harder, even though you're very good at. So we've seen men in the past being the one leading and being faceless, and we cannot do that. Yes, we can, but we know that in a male-oriented community, a sector, you have to understand your power. And your power is not to scream, is not to argue, it's to put your perspective into every aspect of your work, of your life. So my only piece of advice here, finish my presentation, my speech, is that soft skills matter, and we will see and be good, because it's something that to work in a company that has a lot of people from different cultures, from different countries, different time zones, you have to have these ways of working that you have to work with them. So you have to understand how it's important to be good, and not only as in a specific field. It's not just doing the best mathematics. It's a whole new way of working that we have seen in the ICT sector as well. How you have to have a holistic approach. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for my other colleagues that talked here today. I learned a lot from you, Anya, Dr. King, Roselle, and and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Obrigado, Ms. Morao. It's good to have your presentation representing Facebook and, of course, Latin America. Regardless of what you study, you can find some way of interacting with the field of ICT and whatever career path you end up on. So remember, you can have your questions in the chat. There are some questions. We're going to get to them at the end, and the speakers will answer your questions live on camera in a brief way, because we are a little bit pressed for time. So we are going to move swiftly along. Our next presenter, Miss Alice Bain. She is an ICT professional. She has more than 20 years experience in the industry. So that's older than most of you watching right now in school. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science, as well as an MBA in International Business and several professional certifications in as National College. And she works in the field of ICT in both the strategic as well as technical levels in several countries, including the UK, Trinidad, the OECS, Grenada, and St. Martin. She is currently in St. Martin as the project coordinator for the World Bank administered Emergency Income Support and Training Project. So let's welcome a woman who's very passionate about STEM, which is, of course, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, Miss Alice Bain.
Good. You were running a bit late, so I'd like to recognize the protocols that have been already established. And I would like to say great job to all of the presenters before me. I was thinking, what can I say? All the presenters did such a great job, and to me, you covered almost everything, so you made my job very easy. But still, I'm happy to be here because I think we all have in a positive way. So I just wanted to start with my journey. Actually, when my journey started in ICT, I did not know. My father was involved in engineering. And from a very young age, when all my friends had dolls, kits, circuit boards, and books that allow you to experiment with things at your home. And I was like, at first, I was like, when I didn't get it. As I got more involved, I was like, okay, I love this. It allowed me to start thinking about solving problems. How can I do things better? And that's where I got involved in ICT, not knowing that I was involved in ICT. I went to St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville. During that time, I did very well in subjects like actually wanted to choose those subjects. And then I'm not saying they are bad. They are very good subjects and they helped me. But my father physics, but at home, he taught me physics. And, and he was like, no, these are the subjects you have to do. So initially I was extremely upset because I'm thinking, I want to do the subjects that I know I will excel at. But my dad put down his feet and I was very happy because now I love what I do. And she stated that I have a BSc in computer science and an MBA in international business. And it was a strategic decision that I made to combine the two because I wanted to actually provide solutions, not just solutions for commercial businesses, but solutions for worldwide problems that's happening. So that is why I've always worked a lot of my career at Community College in 1998. And I also taught at SAS, St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School. After that, I actually went on to do not able to get a job in Grenada. So I went to Trinidad, where I worked as a business analyst at first, and then a systems analyst. And then I went up. So my career has been just going up the ladder. And now I'm a senior project manager where I'm managing projects. Very happy with the career choices that I have made. And I'm very happy that I was like an obedient child who women in ICT. I know we are saying that we don't, you have more men involved in ICT, but it has not always been that way. Around World War II, going up to the 60s, especially during the 1980s, with the development of the personal computer, marketing and branding and everything is continued to go down. And then, like all the other presenters have stated, it's now about just a little under 20% of women working in the areas of ICT. The good thing about it is that the industry on a whole recognize the value of targeting women to come to study ICT. And it's a good thing because we bring a different perspective, brings the best. But when you have only 10, 15% women in ICT, then you're not even close to bringing our perspective. When you have artificial intelligence and you have your face, no matter what race, color, or so you are, you would like the system to be able to recognize you. And we can only use these products in the way they are supposed to be used if we are involved in the development. So I think it is key that we continue to push our women and girls. It is cross-cutting. It cuts across every industry. So a lot of times when I do these presentations, I notice that the persons who are invited or the students who are invited are the students who are already registered and are already taking classes in computer science or information technology and so on. And I think we have an opportunity for someone who never thought they would be interested in the area of ICT to understand it's not just about computer science and coding. And yes, those are especially now in 2020. I'm actually at home in Grenada, but I'm working in St. Martin. That is because of ICT. It's enabled by ICT. Two presenters before me, I can't recall your name, my apologies, you spoke about data. And data is so important. It's like big money. It's very important for countries also. We have so many natural disasters. Something as simple as knowing where, a lot of time we don't even have data on that. We don't even have systems that can tell us, okay, there is a hurricane in Grenada, or some other country, there is a hurricane and we need to help people. How do you know what persons need help with? You can only know that. A field that I always encourage people. Of course, you have to go into a field that you love. That's the basis of anything. I said at the beginning, I had a very rocky start because I was kind of, you just end up loving, because you see the lives based on the systems that that's developed under your management and governments, and you think, okay, I am giving back. And that's the main thing. You have to love it, you have to understand it, and you have to want it. There should be that draw myself away and say, okay, you need to rest your eyes, because you have to love what you do so much that when you get in front of your computer or even reading the books and so on, you just love what you do, that you want to learn more. ICT is so dynamic. Also, you create that tribe of persons around you who have that vision of persons who want to solve problems, persons who want to give back to society. And I noted that one of the presenters spoke about the co-op opportunities and University of Waterloo and other universities, and those are very, very great opportunities to look at. While I was in school, I went to Union College, and there were two girls in a class of about 25, a young lady from St. Vincent and myself, and we were always the butt of the jokes in class. I mean, you in the end. ICT is glamorous also. It's not a field that is always looked at like, okay, all the geeks are in ICT or science and technology and engineering and math. It has become quite a glamorous field, something that a lot of persons are very proud to be participating in, because it's all about solutions and innovations. And who would not like to be a part of building something that solves a problem or creating something that has never been done before? So as it relates to some tips, and so how to navigate in a male-dominated field, it's very competitive. And I am happy to say I have two daughters, twin daughters. They just went through the process of applying for university, and they both decided to do computer science. And during the process, I've learned quite a bit. It is not only about your academics. It is not only about your academics. If you intend to study abroad, you are competing with people from all over the world to get into certain universities. You have the opportunity. You might think, oh, it doesn't make sense, but to do some small projects in your neighborhood, in your community, with your friends, try and solve a problem, try and develop some sort of solution. And you don't just develop it and you hide it, you develop it. And that is where you use social media to actually market and showcase everything you have done. And these are the things that when you are going into university, you don't just put on, I have 16 subjects with 16 A's or 16 ones. I can't remember what type of grading system they use. I think it's ones or distinctions. That is not enough. We have to develop a solutions-oriented mindset to compete. So how do you, it's the same thing in the world of work. You need to be solutions-oriented. And yes, your academics, it's important. You need to give back and publicize that you give back. Our culture holds us back in terms of publicizing, because it comes off like, oh, she boasting again. She do this again. You should be publicizing your good works. Nothing is too small to publicize. And when you are applying for university, you create a little web page, you create something so that you can show the university that I have attempted to do something and you can get accepted. In this century, you have it so much different from when I was attending university. A lot of time it was based on academics, and you have to have the finances. I'm not saying every child will get a scholarship, but we are from a Caribbean country, but there are a lot of opportunities for females and even more opportunities for Black females, especially in development organizations. They do have to have that balance because they are representing society on a whole, and no one should have an unfair advantage. Yes, as I'm a woman and you are girls, you will become women soon. We do have things that they call challenges, like parenting and being a homekeeper and managing work and managing those things. It shows that we do have the ability to actually do and to be on a level playing field with the whatever gender and give back to society. We are both important. Men are important, women are important. It's just that the data does not show that we are aligned in terms of the balance between males and females in the industry. So another tip, participate in international competition. I know that some of my colleagues have already presented some of the competitions, but there is something like Google Code Jam. There is also the International Robotics Competition. I know that Grenada is always taking part in those, the International Robotics Competition, and a lot of other competitions that you have, Facebook and Microsoft, they advertise it. A lot of times I think you have to keep up to date. You have to keep researching, because a lot of times students come to me and say, oh, I heard you speak about that and I would like to take part. But by the time you come to me, the deadline for entry has ended. So you have to know, do I prefer to sit down for an hour looking at TikTok videos and my friend's business and who looks nice in a swimwear on Facebook, or the other, so that we can actually put forward an entry? And our size in these competitions are sometimes an advantage. Being female and being from a developing country, you might think it is a disadvantage, but a lot of times it is an advantage, because international companies, they know that there are persons from all over the world with different ideas that they can make use of and that can bring value to the companies. So that is why these competitions are international, but we have to research more. We have to put in the time to research more and find out and stick to the deadlines and approach it in a professional manner from as young as secondary school. If the government is not offering, the onus is on you to decide, should I spend my time doing a million TikTok tries, because I know it's a lot of tries before you get it right, or can I take an hour today to research and write down all the competitions and pull a few of my friends to say, let's do something, and always think of giving back to your society. There are a lot of free courses online, because I am aware, and I'm not saying anything bad about CSEC or what, but the design of the curriculum and so is not necessarily tailored in a way, it's not tailored to allow students to go hardcore into ICT. So when I say to people, okay, I have a computer science degree, when I came back from studying, they would ask my dad, can she repair my computer? I did not know how to do that. I need help in Word, Excel, and Access. And back then in the 1998, when they speak of computer science, that was the idea that most persons had, that you do computer science, you're coming back and be a technician. I do hope that that kind of thinking has changed, because it is so broad. And if, you know, the curriculum that we have focus on that, I can see where the thinking comes from. But you have an advantage being in this century, because there are so many tools out there. You have Code Academy, Khan Academy, and some of the others that the different presenters have mentioned. Additionally, I would like to, on record, compliment T.A. Marisho Community College. As I mentioned before, my daughters were applying to some of the top universities, and they did get through to some top universities. And one of the universities said they have an associate degree from TAMCC, and the university they applied to said, okay, you are transferring to get a degree. The only gray area, or the area that needed improvement, was mathematics. But we have the resources here that when we share the course content and the structure and even the learning experiences of students, international universities are very, very impressed. So I want to say that persons who are going to TAMCC, their course it's very good. It's not, I am not the one saying it, but I've heard it because I've been through the process with my daughters. If you plan to do it, please, though, do mathematics on the side to couple with your associate degree in information tech, computer science. I can't remember the name of the degree that TAMCC offers. So you are on the right track if you have already started computer science, but there are things to boost you, the Code Academy. And so, as I mentioned before, if you're on TAMCC, it is it's a very good institution. So if you are in secondary school, although ICT is cross-cutting, but if you want to go into core ICT, please, you have to do maths and physics and some of the other subjects. And at that time, and I think you heard one of the other presenters did mechanical engineering. So being from Grenada, and I'm from Grenville, and I'm thinking, but why would I do that? I don't want to come and fix cars. So you have to research, because it doesn't have to do with fixing cars, but based on the society we are involved in, you hear these things. Even coming back with a computer science degree, a lot of my friends are doctors and lawyers, and people ask my family why she didn't do law, or why didn't she become a doctor. Those fields are very, very good. But computer science, if you're a person that's driven by finances, you get a very good salary in most, if not all, of the computer science fields. They are very competitive in their salaries, etc. So when it comes to the different careers, there are so many, but you can go from web development to mobile app development to product management, data science. Data is big money. You can do that. Game development, consulting, which is what I do. And it's my type. It's project management. It's a collaboration of business processes and IT systems and delivering solutions. So that's what I do. You can do penetration testing, and you can become an ethical hacker. And maybe you don't know all of these words, but you might you can just jot down some of these, and then you can go and research it after. You have persons come up with proposals and give, you have some persons who are lecturers. So there are so many different fields. Security. I heard one of the first presenters said she was involved in sales. You can do software sales, but you have to understand the business and the requirements and whether what you are selling them, they would want to have it. You have database admin, you have systems admin, you have chief technical officer. I can go on and on and on. So you can just research it. But ICT, I keep saying ICT is cross-cutting. The last presenter is a lawyer. You have a lot of opportunities related to patent law in ICT, and take this opportunity, no matter what field you're involved in, and research to see how can you use ICT to better that field, because it is cross-cutting. So what can I leave you with today? Most of the presenters, they have already talked about some of the attributes that you should have, but everyone looks at academia and I'm bright and I have A's and so, but ICT, it doesn't matter what field you're involved in, it's always teamwork. And teamwork is one of the best things for ICT because you get different perspectives. One of the other presenters also said, you should not be ashamed to express yourself, because that is why they have teams. They do not expect you to just agree with what someone else have already stated just for agreeing's sake. But you listen, you bring a different perspective, you do not be shy. I have had experiences where men try to talk down to you in boardrooms or in meetings because you're the only female on a table with 10 to 20 men in their suits looking all serious. You have to be strong, you have to be articulate, you have to look them in the eye, you have to be respectful and bring your point across. In the beginning of my career, I would sit there and I would be, they say certain things, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and I would be sitting there saying, but I knew this, I wanted to say this, why didn't I say it? And it takes practice, but our culture also, sometimes if you express yourself in a very passionate way, it can, society says she is rude, she is bossy, she is arrogant. If a man expresses himself in that same way, oh, he's really good boy. He's a good boss. No, we have to stand up, express ourselves passionately, and be respectful at the same time as women in ICT. And also, someone said, listen, it's important. We don't know everything. This 2-hour session sitting here, I've learned so much. And I'm sure everybody would have learned from everybody else. You know exactly what, if it's a bachelor's in this, if it's a CompTIA certificate, if it's, those things are already written. So to be competitive, you have to look at your soft skills. You have to develop your soft skills. And soft skills does not mean being soft. It just means that you have to have that balance. As women, you are young, but there will come a time when you have to know about, I have my family and I have my career. It can be problematic in relationships also, but you have to know how to balance and you have to want it. That's the main thing. You have to want it. That's why I'm saying ICT is cross-cutting. Choose a career and a field that you like, become passionate about it, and then it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm going to have fun, but I'm solving problems and I'm giving back. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I hope that I would have impacted your life or your life decisions related to your career in some way or some form. And I would like to just say thank you to the other members of the.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bain. A great presentation. Of course, great points for us to take home. Especially, I like the fact about, social media being almost like your public CV. That's exactly how I use Facebook and Instagram. And I can definitely attest to getting certain jobs and projects just because of certain things that I've shared online. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you to all the speakers. And now I will take some of the questions that have been coming in through the chat. I know we have a question here for Mrs. Anya Cho Chung of Huggins. So this question is coming in from the St. George's SJC. So the question is, when first entering the Huggins department, were you intimidated, arrogant, or seeming easy to overcome or influence? That's a great question. Mrs. Cho Chung, are you able to answer for us? I know you've answered in the chat, but just for the benefit of everyone else, we can take a quick answer from you.
Of course, my pleasure. I've been asked this a lot, you know. So I am the only female. Miss Bain just referred to that, you know. I am the only female on the board of directors of Huggins right now. And I sit in the chairperson's seat. Coming into Huggins, it was very intimidating because the management team, the senior executives were primarily male, sorry. So, I mean, back to the discussion on the softer skills, it goes back to the discussions on character. And I really have to say that I learned a lot at convent, and I know it's the same at other schools, where you're taught about character building and the things that you do to build the respect with which you communicate and so on. And as I said in the chat just now, I think humility was my greatest tool in navigating through that challenge. I remember having a conversation with one of the senior directors once, and he brought it up, you know, how you feel to be young and female. And I said, you know what, sir? I am done with apologizing for being female, right? That is of value. Then I have no excuses to make for the type of shoes I wear, because I like my high heels, ladies. That's me, okay? But you can wear any shoes you want, right? Because your career path is endless. And so the day I expressed myself with that humility and humor, but confidence, was the day everyone put their weapons down, right? You have to listen. A lot of us feel that, okay, so the trend is now to empower women, right? And that's wonderful. But we have to be very, very careful, right? That we do not lose sight of what we are trying to accomplish. Empowering women does not mean that it's at all costs. And it doesn't mean that you can use your female nature as a meal ticket because there's a need for gender balance and equality now. It's not going to excuse you from putting in the work to getting where you look at these women. Look at the qualifications of these women who have spoken to you today. This opportunity that I feel like I'm a student back in school now. The opportunity to be exposed to women of this caliber. Listen. Remain humble and listen. And when you express yourself having regard to fact. Divorce yourself from too much emotion, because it's good to have a little, you know, but don't let emotions guide the words you have to say. When you open your mouth to speak, and I use this as a guide in my boardroom, I listen first, and I make sure that what I have to say is not idle, that it has value and meaning. It's respectful. And once, ladies, you establish a track record of making valuable statements, respectful statements, you will earn people's respect. It's not going to be handed to you because you're a female and you're marginalized. It's not going to be handed to you. They expect me as a CEO to be strong and you know, I'm Huggins and I'm no. Right? You can be right there with your sleeves rolled up, right? Helping to pack shelves in a supermarket and still maintain your presence. Humility, young ladies, is critical to everything, right? Work hard. Forget those distractions, right? A distracted CEO, a distracted engineer, a distracted lecturer, right, will not do justice to those you serve. And that's, sorry, I know I'm going on and on. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, but young ladies, I really believe in what I'm telling you because it has worked for me. All right, so I hope I've answered.
Thank you so much. Whenever you're doing a TED Talk, I will be there, Mrs. Cho Chung. We have a question from Ms. Roselle Grant. It is, what was the experience like working alongside Elon Musk in creating the first ever electrical car? And do you think that Tesla is an iPad on wheels? lastly, what difficulties did you face in programming the Tesla? And this is from WSI Form 2. I'm assuming that that's Westmoreland. So, Ms. Roselle Grant, are you able to answer?
Sure, I'll give it a go. So, extremely stressful. I think half of the gray hairs I had came from the last 4 years at Tesla. But at the same time, it was extremely rewarding, right? And let me tell you why. So I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering, right? And it wasn't because I had some big desire to become an engineer. That wasn't my story, right? I wanted something that was safe and tangible, okay? And the concept of electricity and the first product that I had to manufacture at Tesla was the inverter. So this is like the brain of the drive unit, right? It's all electronics and PCBA boards and understanding my field electric transistors and how they interact with my capacitors and other things like this. And it was a challenge for me. But I will say this, what made it extremely rewarding has been the team that I've worked with. Now, we all came from different backgrounds. We had different skill sets. We had different personalities. We had different, I'll always like agree, right? I mean, we agreed 20% of the times, but then that's how you come up with the best option, right? To go through and be able to talk through why should we take this route or that route. So that, if you ask me what is one of my major takeaways from Tesla, or at least from that branch that I worked at, you wouldn't hear me putting forth the technical side of it first, even though my growth there was exponential. Like, I would not try to take away from that. But the first thing that comes to mind when I hear this question is the team that I've worked with and the collaboration that we had together. And that work culture, you see, work culture, I'm learning today that that has more merit for me than the actual job itself. Yeah, so I hope that explains how I would work with, I've worked with Elon Musk. I probably should not say more. But yeah, it's been rewarding and stressful, to say the very least. As far as I hold an Android phone, so but it is a little brain. It probably, aside from Waymo and other concepts in the making, it has potential to be fully autonomous. It is not yet. This is why, sometimes it is written that you still need to be behind the driver's seat, but it has potential to get there. And I believe one other question about programming. What are the difficulties I face with programming? So, like I said, I'm a mechanical engineer. I like to touch and feel what I'm working with. I like it to be tangible. This is what I'm comfortable with. When I stepped into that role, that first role of process engineering for the inverter line for Model 3s, then which rolled out to semi-trucks, I had to build inverters, which meant that I had to understand them, which also Beckhoff. And on the data side, you had Tableau and SQL. I didn't even know what they were. People were talking about it and I felt completely intimidated and I wanted to run. I literally wanted to run. I probably, in my mind, I see myself running. Maybe that's what I did. I don't remember, but I had zero experience with it. And I had to come home one day and I actually wrote them down, almost panicked. But I said, one at a time, which is the most important for me to get a platform on now. Basically scratched off the others. I focused on one, because when you look at, sometimes it's good to have a big picture, but you have to focus on sizable bites. You know what I mean? So this was my approach to moving forward them for assistance. And I had the tools right there. And why it was also critical, or why I felt so afraid, is because I know myself. If there is a way to break a tool, I will find it. Like, that is just the type that I am, right? So if you want to do reliability testing, if it can withstand me, then it's a good product. So this is why I felt intimidated by it. But yeah, I took bite-sized chunks.
Awesome, awesome. I feel you. My phone falls like a few times per day. Mrs. Cho Chung is saying the same thing. She can testify. All right, I have a quick question for Ms. Morao. You're, of course, in Brazil, who speaks Portuguese, but you're very fluent in English. How important do you think adding other languages to your portfolio is important in the field of ICT?
It is a very great question. I think that nowadays people tend to value the most having a second career if you got that position or not. I can personally tell you that when I went to London, I tried to imitate, I tried to get the most of the accent that people was talking there, because I thought no one was going to hire me after the master if I don't speak like them. But this is not true. Like big companies, and I can totally talk about Facebook, it's about communication. If you can communicate and if you can express yourself, regardless of the level of English that you have, specifically for Facebook, that is an American company, and of course you have to deal with people that only speaks English in the US. So for me, it was an asset. Of course, I was not going to be hired by Facebook if I didn't spoke English and Spanish. But my level of Spanish is not that good, and I tell people I speak Portuguese. I speak Portuguese and Espanol and Spanish, like a combination of both. And I do presentations to regulators in LATAM, in Spanish-speaking Latin countries, and they do understand me. And inside Facebook, I do see people that has a very basic level of English from Brazil, for example. I'm not going to lie to you that this cannot be one of the aspects of someone pull your CV. But this is not going to define you. Even if you have a basic level of other language that is needed for the job, put yourself available to learn. Oh, I really want to learn this language. I didn't have the opportunity, but I'm here to learn. And I think it's one of the most things that got me this position, because I had to have Spanish, and I said, I will learn the best Spanish I can do. Although I can speak Portuguese, there is similarities, but it's not the same. And we are dealing with regulators, with agencies, and they do need someone that can convey the message, especially for public policy. It's not about just engineering. I have to understand at least a bit of more of the context and the concepts of what you're transmitting. And but just to resume, just to finalize, it's important, but it's not the main focus. It's not the main important point. And don't be shy to express yourself in an interview for an internship or anything else, just because you think that I don't speak very well in this other language. It's how you present yourself.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now we have some giveaways, and we still have a few speakers here. Well, all the speakers are actually still with us, in case you have any questions that we can try to squeeze in during the giveaways. But I know it's approaching lunchtime, and I know we're eager for that. So I'll give you the few questions right now. The first person to answer the question correctly in the chat, you will be the winner, okay? And also reminding you, there will be a scholarship also coming out of this, one for forms 1 to 3. You actually Marisho Community College, which is absolutely fantastic. So make sure to take part in that one. All right, I see claps coming in. Yes, that's a good initiative. And for the giveaways, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to ask the question. I'll also say the number of the question. So put the number and put the answer in the chat. And the first person to say it correctly, to type it correctly, will be the winner of the giveaway. And of course, the NTRC will facilitate getting the prize to you. So you're ready? Get your fingers ready on the keyboard. First question, number 1, list 4 participating organizations in today's event. 4 participating organizations in today's event. I'm going to move. ICT first held. What year was the Girls in ICT first held? And that's number 2. Let me check the chat to see what's going on. So remember, y'all, you have to put number 1 as well as the answer, number 2 as well as the answer. And if I can go to the chat, I feel like we have some winners here already. Anglican High School won the first one by saying Huggins, NTRC, Facebook, and Tesla. Congratulations to Anglican High School. For number 2, the first person I'm seeing here is SMSS. I'm assuming that's St. Mark's Secondary School. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have the correct answer, which is 2011. Number 3, we're going swiftly. When is Girls in ICT observed every year? You have to state the month and the day. When is Girls in ICT observed every year? And that should be an easy one because today is Girls in ICT Day, right? Number 4, most people like to send texts. What does SMS stand for? Come on, I know we always like to have our phones close by. What does SMS stand for? And that's number 3. And I'm seeing loads of wrong answers. Let's see, nobody got it so far. Scrolling. All right, so number 3, when is Girls in ICT observed every year? The month and the day, okay? Let me just check back. I think I saw the answer. And the answer is coming out from L'Abbé. St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville just won that one. It is the 4th Thursday in April. Good job right there. And for number 4, Amy Gooding. I'm not sure what school you're from. Remember, you have to have your school's name, but Amy Gooding is the winner. It is Short Message Service. That's what SMS stands for. Number 5, we have heard a lot about ICT with today being celebrated International Girls in ICT Day. The question is, what does it's actually from the Boca Secondary School. So that was Boca Secondary School winning that one. Now, NTRC, I know there are different versions of what ICT means. So you will have to select number 5 winner for me, okay? I don't know how technical you want to be about the answer. I'm gonna say number 6 still. We all use the internet. What does the abbreviation URL stand for? If you're doing IT, you should know this one. What does URL stand for? So number 6, we're looking at, yes, I see the answer here, St. David's Catholic Secondary School. Big up, big up, big up. Awesome. So that is for number 6. Number 7, what does the acronym STEAM, what does it stand for? That's number 7. Number 8, how long will the Girls in ICT be running for this year? How long will the Girls in ICT be running for this year? And that is number 8. So based on the time, we may have to cap it there. So let's see, hopefully Lendon is helping me here with the answers because I'm just seeing the chat going and going and going. Right, so we need an answer for number 7. Let me see. It looks like SJC St. George's Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics is correct. That is STEAM. So SJC won number 7. And for number 8, I see some interesting answers, but not the correct one. So for number 8, the question is, how long will the Girls in ICT be running for this year? I'll slide in at least one more. Who is the creator of the following operating systems? Microsoft Windows. So that's number 9. Who is the creator of the following operating systems? Okay, so the first person to write the answer, even though you did twice, I think the NTRC did tell me that in my brief. But in case you can't win twice, then Happy Hill Secondary School is second on that answer, okay? So NTRC, you can work out the admin. I am just the host. But thank you so much for participating in this giveaway. Number 8 answer actually goes to Hillsborough. So that came in from NTRC. Thank you so much. So Hillsborough Secondary, you just won for that one. Ladies, girls, and the one male who has assisted this process, thank you so much for joining us today for this lovely Career Day Girls in ICT celebrated here in Grenada, and of course involving so many amazing women, not just Medford, to give us some closing remarks as we set off for the rest of our day and of course the rest of our lives in ICT.
Thank you very much, Chrislyn. So I trust that your time today has been well spent and that you indeed would see the dividends of this session as you embark upon your life's journey. It's always a pleasure to have sessions like these because we can't always assume that as young people you know. This knowledge can only be translated to you based on the experiences of persons who have gone before you. So I would like to take the opportunity to extend a heartfelt thank you to our inspirational women. I must say, when the NTRC reached out and asked for persons to participate, for them to participate, they said I would be honored. But I think for the NTRC, we felt like we were honored to have you to be part of this celebration. So to our young girls, one of the lessons that you should learn is humility. Chow Chow, to Dr. Kim Malawi, to Ms. Roselle Grant, to Ms. Aline Morao, and Ms. Alice Bain. Thank you so much. My sincere apology if I mispronounce the names. Your stories, experiences, tip indeed would leave, I'm sure, leave a lasting impression on our young girls. I like that you did not hold back, that you just gave off your life experiences. So for so many students, and I know for me at that age, you see a lot of these roles as glamorous, not understanding that indeed there are challenges and sacrifices that have to be made. So I hope for our young girls that you would have learned lessons and that these lessons you would apply as part of your everyday life. So another lesson, press on in the face of challenges, indeed persevere. And if you do fall, don't stay down, get up, dust yourself off and keep trying. So to the Ministry of Education and to Mrs. Christopher, we say a heartfelt thank you for being with us today and providing your remarks. Thank you to our host, Ms. Lashington. Thank you for your energy, your enthusiasm. Thank you so very much. Indeed, you would have added a little bit of spice to this event. I would like to commend the schools who saw value in this program and encourage our students to participate. We do not take lightly that participation. We know that COVID-19 would have impacted the coursework, so we say thank you very much. To our young girls, thank you for your company, for taking the time to be here, for investing in your future. I applaud you. It shows your interest and your desire to know more about the field, which starts at secondary school in laying the foundation. So thank you. I do encourage you to participate in scholarship. We will be sharing that information with the school so you can have the information with you as you continue in putting your thoughts together to prepare the essay. To the chairman, the commissioners, to the chairman, the commissioners, management, and staff of the NTRC, we say thank you for investing in this program and also in the scholarship. It definitely shows the interest in our young girls. So we say thank you to the staff of the NTRC. We thank you for taking the time and planning this event and also following up with the schools. A heartfelt thank you to members of the media. Thank you so much for the press coverage. To everyone who assisted in one way or the other. To the gifts, we did say it would be per student, so we know that more than one schools would have answered, but I believe it's possibly different students that would have won those prizes. So we would reach out to you. So before we leave, so once again, one and all, a heartfelt thank you. Thank you so very much. We are indeed grateful for your time that you have stayed here. Oh, apologies for going over, but thank you so much for being here. We do have another session. Well, it's not the NTRC, but it's the Principal Association, and I believe Mr. Dominic Jeremiah is online. It's the Principal Association. They're also having an initiative. It's girls in ICT and boys who support them. We are going to put a log onto that event, and please support it, support it, support it. Girls in ICT and boys who support them. It's gaming, it's digital media. It seems that's so much fun, 10 years plus. It's actually a regional event, over 15 plus countries. So I know it says 6 p.m., but I believe Mr. Jeremiah said 9 p.m. So please support it. It's the Principal Association, Ministry of Education, who is supporting this initiative. It's all under the same objective of empowering our girls to become more involved in the field of ICT. So one and all, enjoy the rest of your day. Again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Krista Medford. It's a pleasure once more for being with you. Have a great day, everyone, and happy International Girls in ICT Day. I'm Chrislyn Lashington, or Missy Chrissy. Hopefully we'll see you again very soon. On behalf of the NTRC who put together this event, have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.